Alrighty everybody, today I want to go ahead and discuss Lesson 1.1, the undefined terms. But first, what I want you to go ahead and do is, I want you to pause the video and draw the pictures that you see on the screen. I want you to take a look at all this and draw all these pictures, and when you are done, unpause the video and then start following along as I go through each term of this lesson. Okay. Starting off with a point. A point is a location. It is a dot you physically cannot see unless you create it or draw it. If I were to give you an example, I would say room 207 with Mr. N at Anderson High School. Okay, that is a point and that is a location. Now, if I were to give you another point or location, I would say the room next door. Room 205 at Anderson High School. Now, notice that I said room 207 and room 205. That's because those are points, those are locations, and that is because we have lots of locations, lots of points in this space, in this world, at Anderson High School. So I have to differentiate them, right? So if I were to say, hey, go to room 207, you know exactly where you're supposed to go. Or if I say, hey, go to the next door, room 205, you know exactly where you're supposed to go. So that's why I'm being very, very specific, because in geometry, there are infinite amount of points in space. So how do we name these points? Well, let's take a look at the example right here. We have a dot. You can see that we have a dot right here. And then next to it is a capital letter. This is how you name the point. It's basically the capital letter, point A. So you're going to write point A, or you can just call it A. Okay? If I were to give you something like this, with a capital letter, so you have a dot and a capital letter, that is just going to be simply point B or B. So you're basically using the capital letter to name the point. Now, what I want to go ahead and do is I want to take a look at a line. A line is a straight path that extends in two opposite directions without end. It is one-dimensional and contains an infinite number of points. We have our line, and it has an arrow on each end. And that means that it's going to keep on going forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. It does not stop here, and it does not stop here. It's going to keep on going forever. That is what a line is, okay? And you've been drawing lines in Algebra 1 when you were figuring out the slope, you're trying to figure out the intercept, then you graph it, and then draw the arrows on both ends. That is what you were doing in Algebra 1. To name this line, all you have to do is you take 2 points and then put a line above it. So I have a point here and a point here. So I will call that A, B. And then I'm going to put a line above it. So you tell the reader, hey, this is line AB. Right? And this is one way to name it. The other way that you can name this line is, notice that I have this lowercase cursive letter, or just lowercase. To name this line, you can use that lowercase and call that line L. So let me go ahead and write that down. Line L. Okay? And you have to know 2 ways to name a line. First, by their points, the 2 points, and then the lowercase. Okay? So please make sure that you understand how to name this line or any type of lines if I were to give you something like this.
Okay, real quickly, I want to go ahead and talk about what one-dimensional means. Basically, it means that you can go up and down or left and right, but not both at the same time.
And with lines, they do have an infinite number of points. Just because you see a point here and a point here, it does not mean that this line has 2 points. It actually has an infinite amount of points because a point is a location. There's a location here, there's a location here, there's a location here. It's just that the points are not popping out at you, right? When you were graphing in Algebra 1, you were constantly rising and running and plotting those points down just like so. And that is what you have there. That's the infinite number of points that I mentioned with lines. Okay, so hopefully that makes it clear when you're looking at the definition of a line. Okay, the next thing I want to go ahead and look at is something called collinear. Collinear are points that lie on the same line. So again, you're supposed to have, when it comes to lines, you're going to draw that line. You're going to have those arrows on both ends, and see that you have a point here, a point here, and a point here. These points lie on the same line, therefore that these points are collinear. So you're going to write that down. So points F, U, N, are collinear. Again, these points F, U, N are collinear. Let's take a look at what a plane is. A plane is a flat surface that extends without end in all four directions. It is two-dimensional and it contains an infinite number of points. Now, how I think of a plane is like a flat piece of paper, right? It extends in all four directions, meaning that you can go up and down as well as left and right. And just like, you know, when you're playing Pokemon Yellow or Pokemon Emerald, that game is a two-dimensional game where you can control the character with your arrows up and down, left and right? So that's what a plane is. So if you were to name this plane, so this is what a plane looks like, kind of looks like a flat piece of paper, sort of. You're going to pick 3 points. So to name a plane, you need 3 points. So in other words, you will call this plane, again, F-U-N. So that is plane F-U-N. And then if you were to write this plane in a different way, you can take a look at the capital letter over here. This right here, that uppercase letter, is another way that you can name this plane. So you can call that plane R. Make sure that you have that uppercase. So again, there are 2 ways that you can name this plane. Plane F-U-N, you're going to pick the 3 points, or you're going to use the uppercase letter. Okay? Coplanar, those are points that lie on the same plane. So here's my plane. I drew my plane. All I need are 3 points. I'm going to use that same example, F-U-N. We're going to say F-U-N are coplanar because they are lying on the same plane. These points are lying on the same plane. Okay? How simple is that? Okay? So now what I want to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and take a look at what a line segment is. Now, first of all, again, a line looks like this, right? You're supposed to draw a line. You're supposed to have these arrows on both ends. Now, if I were to get my eraser tool out and I chop these parts off of that line, what I did there was I created stopping points. So I have a point here and a point here. Those are endpoints. So this is where you stop, and there is another way that you can stop. They will not extend whatsoever because you have a line segment, okay? So in order for you to name this segment, you're going to use those endpoints. You can use A, B, and then you put a line above it with no arrows. Or, if you want, you can call this BA, okay? It does not matter how you write this as long as you're using the endpoints. So that's how you name the line segment. Now, I want to go ahead and take a look at what a ray is. A ray has one endpoint. You can see that it has one endpoint. We've already talked about what endpoints here, right? Here's an endpoint, here's an endpoint. But with this ray, it has one endpoint, and then it's going to extend forever and ever and ever without end. And that's why we have that arrow there. So to name this ray, you have to understand the following. How you write this does matter. You have to start with your endpoint, which is indeed A, and then where it goes, it's going towards B, and then it's going to go past B. you're going to write the letter B right after the letter A. Now, what am I supposed to put above it? You're supposed to put array above those 2 points. Okay? That is how you're supposed to name that array. And if you want, you can call this BA, but make sure that you put the ray in the opposite direction. The endpoint here is supposed to be above the letter A, and then where it goes, where it's going to extend towards, it needs to pass the letter B. Okay, so this is called ray AB. All right, congruent. You probably have heard of congruent before, perhaps in middle school. It's basically same size and same shape. So how do we name this segment over here? Well, we just use the 2 points. We say segment AB with the bar above it is congruent to, well, what is this? How do you name this? Well, I see the 2 points. They have endpoints. So we call that X, Y, and put a bar above that. This symbol here, this is how you're supposed to write the word congruent. So this is just another way of saying congruent. Okay? So, that's pretty much it for the points, lines, and planes, along with, some other things that you have to understand. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the back side of this page. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. The intersection of lines and planes. Y'all, the definition of intersection is the set of points they have in common. So, you've heard of intersection before, where they meet. If I were to take a look at this example right here, there are 2 lines that intersect exactly at one point. What is the intersection? Where do they meet of the 2 lines? So, what is this line over here? This line, since I noticed that I have a lowercase letter, that is going to be called line L. That's line L. And over here, I noticed that this line is next to this lowercase letter. That is going to be line M. Where do these lines meet? Well, they meet at this particular point, point P. They meet here at point P. So we can call this P or point P. Okay? Now, the next thing I want to go ahead and look at is this example. And I notice that we have 2 planes here. Where do they intersect? Where do they cross? Where do they meet? Well, first of all, let's go ahead and take a look at each plane. This right here, this green plane, what is that plane even called? Well, I don't see any points. I don't see the 3 points that I need to name that plane, but I do see this uppercase letter there, so that means that this is plane A. And then over here, this should be plane B. And notice that these planes intersect at this line over here. I notice that this is a lowercase letter, so this is going to be line R. Okay, next problem. We have a line and a plane that intersect exactly at one point. What is the intersection of the plane and the line? So here we have this plane. We'll call that line T because we have that capital letter there. Then we see that we have this line here because they extend in both directions and they have these arrows, so this is obviously a line. So we can call that line QS or line SR or line QR. And then we know that they intersect at exactly one point, as stated over here. They intersect here at point S. So we can call that S or point S. Now, what I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to take a look at the picture to my right and then start answering the questions that appear on our paper. So, number 1, name a line that contains point A. So, I need to figure out where that line that contains point A. It's right here. You see that A right there? It's part of this line. So to name this line, there are many ways to name this line. You can call this line L, right? Because this line is next to this letter right here, this lowercase letter. This AB with those arrows above it. Because again, to name a line, you need to have 2 points, and then you're to put the line with 2 arrows above it. So the next thing I want to go ahead and do is figure out another way to name this line. You can call this line AC if you want to. Or you can call this line BC. Just like that. Okay? Number 2, what is another name for line M? So where is M? M is right here, and this is the line that's next to the lowercase m. So what is another name for line M? Well, to name a line, again, you need to have 2 points. So I can call this line BD. Just like that. Or you can call this DB. Order does not matter as long as it has 2 points. Okay? Number 3, name a point not on AC, line AC to be exact. Name a point not on line AC. So where's AC? AC is right here. You can call that E and also D. Because notice that E is not part of line AC here. And notice that D is not part of line AC here. So therefore, you can write point E or point D. Number 4, what is another name for line L? So line L is right here. Again, you need 2 points to name a line. So you can write AB with a line above L. You can call that BC with a line above it, or you can call that line AC with a line above it. Number 5, name a point not on line L or line M. Well, here's line L, and here's line M. The only point that doesn't appear on both of those lines is point E. Okay, point E is outside of those 2 lines. All right, next thing is to take a look at number 6. We're going to go ahead and draw and label a figure for each relationship. So for number 6, we have line AB, which is in plane Q. I can do the easy part first. The easy part here is to draw the plane Q. So here's number 6. I'm going to draw a plane. And one way to name a plane is use a capital letter. So I will draw a capital letter Q, or write the letter Q. And then line AB is in plane Q. Well, I need to have 2 points. So I'm going to draw my line with 2 points and call that AB. And that satisfies number 6. Number 7, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at line ST, which intersects line AB at P. So let's draw line ST. Here's S, here's T, and it intersects at AB. So here's A, and here's B, and they intersect at this particular point, and we'll call that P. Okay. Number 8, point X is collinear with points A and B. Well, collinear means points that lie on the same plane. So let me go ahead and draw those points. So here's A and P. And the fact that X is collinear, it has to be on that same line. So this is an example of number 8. Okay. Number 9, point Y is not collinear with points T and P. So let me go ahead and draw a line with T and P. So here's T, here's P. Y is not part of that line, so I'm going to place point Y on the outside. And number 9, what I have there satisfies the criteria. Lastly, number 10, line L contains points X and Y. So this is pretty straightforward. All I have to do is draw a line like so, and then here are my points X and Y. Sorry, I need to make that capital letter. Then I'm gonna go ahead and put a lowercase letter L next to the drawing. And that's what it looks like for number 10.